about the design. They've really seemingly thinned things out on this. We've heard about that. And it's gonna look a little bit more sleeker too. And you can tell that by this case comparison, Z Fold 3 versus the Z Fold 4, and you can see a slightly wider aspect ratio. So let's check this out. This tweet's coming from Ice Universe, showing off the Fold 3 on the left and the Fold 4 on the right. When we zoom into the photo, a couple of things you can take hold of. Now, obviously, seeing these front displays of each one, you can see, or at least you can tell, it is a little bit wider on the Z Fold 4, which is going to be a very welcome addition rather than just having a really tall and skinny display. Now it'll be a little bit shorter, but a little bit fatter as well. And who doesn't like to be a little bit fatter? That's always more fun than being super skinny, isn't it? It means you can eat more food. And then also when I look at the back panels, it seems like where the camera cutout is, that also looks like a little bit chunkier on the Z Fold 4. The other big difference I noticed is smack dab in the middle of the phone, you can see like when you close that up, the bezels have been greatly reduced as well, and the hinge is seemingly much smaller as well. So some nice improvements coming on to the overall design of the Z Fold 4 versus the Z Fold 3. Next up, we're getting with 100% accuracy, or as what he's saying, 100% accuracy from Ice Universe again, of the actual specs of what to expect for the Z Fold 4. So let's just dive into this. I'll put it on, I'm gonna move over just a little bit and I'll have it right here for you guys. So there you guys go. 100% accurate, he's saying about the Z Fold 4. He's saying that it will have a 7.6 inch QXGA plus AMOLED 120 hertz display. So it'll have another 2K plus resolution, 120 hertz display. The outside display will be 6.2 inches, and that's down from, I think it was 6.23 on this one, on the Z Fold 3, with HD plus resolution and 120 hertz. So it's still gonna be basically 720 plus resolution on there, 120 hertz, kind of a disappointment there. Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is gonna be their latest and greatest processor from the folks over at Qualcomm. 12 gigabytes of RAM, which matches what you get with the Z Fold 3. Z Fold 2, I believe as well, right? 256 and 512 gigs of storage. Again, same as what you can get with the Z Fold 3. Rear cameras will be a 50 megapixel main, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 10 megapixel not periscope, telescope. I'm forgetting the name, with a 3x optical zoom. Inner camera will be, again, and that's the camera that sits underneath the display, will be a 4 megapixel under display camera. So you won't see probably amazing photos again. Hopefully it'll be a slightly better clarity, because I'm hoping it's gonna be the second generation of this technology, but still fairly low resolution. The outer camera, the one on this display, will be a 10 megapixel, which I believe again is the same. Android 12 out of the box, One UI 4.1.1 out of the box, which will be the latest version of One UI 1. Also 4,400 milliamp battery and 25 watt charging. So what are the takeaways from this? Well, if you just looked at this on paper and you didn't know anything about the phone, you'd be like, you know what? Everything is seemingly the same. Z Fold 3 versus the Z Fold 4, spec-wise. I mean, pretty damn much. I mean, the camera's a little bit different. The processors are a little bit newer. The displays are close enough that if you didn't know what they're gonna look like physically, you would think they're exactly the same. So on paper, not a very impressive upgrade, I have to admit. And it's kind of what I've been expecting. I'm still gonna get it. I love the phone. And for me, them updating the camera a little bit better, especially the main camera on the back here, and then also giving me a slightly fatter display on the outside. Those are two big reasons I would want to upgrade, because I think that's a reason for that. But I mean, I think if you have the Z Fold 3 and you don't, taking pictures isn't the ultimate most important thing you ever do, or you're happy with the cameras, then don't even upgrade, you know? My phone's buzzing off the hook. Story today has to do with the iPhone and the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, and a feature they're going to get that Samsung phones have had for a really long time. I'm just gonna kind of turn my screen off and you can see my time, right? But my screen's not on, right? Always on display. Well, guess what the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max are getting when they come out this fall? That's right, they're going to be getting the iPhone lock screen is poised for an upgrade with iOS 16, aka always on display. They're finally getting it. Now, I think it's only going to be delegated to the 14 Pro and Pro Max. I don't think any of the other iPhone 14s will get it. There's a good chance the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max might not get it. They might get it because I guess it's going to come with iOS 16, but ultimately they might not. So if you really, really want that feature so that you can see basically your time with your screen turned off or screen black and you can see some text on there, you're gonna have to get the 14 Pro and Pro Max. Pretty crazy they're just getting it now, but at least they're getting it. So kind of cool. We'll see what Apple does with it. I don't think they're gonna do the same thing that Samsung does. It'll probably be a little bit different. I can almost guarantee they'll add some feature that we don't have on Android, and then Samsung will copy them on that part a year later, or months later. So watch, I bet you. Let's put our money on it. Next is about the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro and a feature that's on the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic that is looking like it's probably not going to be on the 5 Pro. So check this out. The tweet originally came out from Ice Universe saying, unfortunately, the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro will disappoint you. He doesn't really go into further detail, but what Sam Mobile did is they put out an article out saying that the 5 Pro might disappoint fans of Samsung's rotating bezel, meaning that the rotating bezel potentially might not be coming out for the phone. You might have either some kind of digital rotating bezel akin to what they do on the Galaxy Watch 4, or you might not have anything else. You might just be able to use it on the screen. I'll admit, when I do use my watch, which is basically never, but when I do, I almost never use the rotating bezel. If you remove the rotating bezel, it's gonna get smaller. Which I guess is a good thing in a way. Won't look as bulky, which again is a good thing. But for fans of the people of the rotating bezel, not getting that is going to be a huge disappointment, and probably a reason you probably won't upgrade to the Watch 5 Pro if it's missing. So we'll keep our eye on this one. It does keep flip-flopping back and forth, but as of right now, it's seemingly not going to be on the Watch 5 Pro. Now, this morning, I showed a comparison of the Galaxy Z Fold 3 front screen versus the Vivo X Fold front screen, and the Vivo X Fold front screen just looks so much more modern and better. It looks more uniform. We also spoke about yesterday, in yesterday's news, we talked about the Galaxy Z Fold 3 displays on the front and the back, or middle I should say, but mostly the front and how it's going to be wider. And we saw cases showing that, but now we actually have some cool renders to show you. So this is coming from Ice Universe saying, based on the Z Fold 4 I saw, he made the latest Z Fold 4 rendering showing the Z Fold 3 on the left and Z Fold 4 on the right. Man, I'm all over the place. And you can really, really tell that the Z Fold 4 is so much more uniform now. The hinge is looking smaller. The bezel on the left, that, you know, the silver part of the hinge and just the overall of the phone is just so much reduced. It looks so much better. Now, it does look a little bit thicker. How much thicker? Not very much, but hopefully enough to make it feel like a difference. But, you know, when you pull away from the Z Fold 4 a little bit and you compare it to the Z Fold 3, just like I said yesterday, spec to spec is really not a big difference. You've got to take into consideration that probably them keeping the specs kind of the same in a lot of areas, the RAM, the storage, the cameras have been slightly upgraded with this year's versions of the S22 Plus cameras. You're looking at kind of the similar design in a way. So you're probably looking at hopefully a cheaper price. I mean, usually sometimes the price rumors are sometimes wrong when they come out this early, or even a week before. Sometimes they're still wrong because we've seen that in the past. So I'm hoping that that'll be another big takeaway from it, because right now the Z Fold 4, they're really the only reason to upgrade it from the Z Fold 3 to Z Fold 4 are the cameras on the back. And then also the design of the front display being a little bit fatter, a little less bezel, a little bit less weight. Beyond that, there's really not a lot to upgrade for, and price hopefully will be one of them. Because after this show, I'm basically headed up to Los Angeles for AEW Dynamite. First story of the day has to do with the Pixel Watch, a device that should be out in October of this year. And we've got some somewhat devastating news, I guess you'd say, about it, and it has to do with the battery life. So the story that's coming out of 9 to 5 Google is saying that the Pixel Watch battery life is expected to last 1 day. Now, on other watches, such as on Samsung, generally you'll see 2 to 3 days of life. I personally don't fully see that. I will see when I was using it a lot. I would see a full day and then a little bit more. So I could get into like a second day, but nothing crazy. So this wouldn't affect me all that much if I end up getting this watch. Having a full day of battery life, I'm completely fine with that because I end up charging all my devices anyway every single day. So for me, not a big deal, but what do you guys think about having 1 day of battery life on the Pixel Watch? Next up, the full specs of the Galaxy Z Flip 4. We talked about the full specs the other day of the Galaxy Z Fold 4, and now we have the Z Flip 4 full specs. So let's dive into this right now. So we're looking at a main display of 6.7 inch, full HD plus, Super AMOLED, 120 hertz. It'd be nice to see 2K, but full HD plus will help with the battery life. Outer display will be 2.1 inch Super AMOLED. So I believe that's a bit of a jump. I think before it was 1.7 if I remember correctly, now it'll be 2.1, a little bit bigger. Outside display will have the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, so it will be the newest processor that Snapdragon, aka Qualcomm, has to offer. Still is only gonna come with 8 gigs of RAM, which maybe the phone runs perfectly fine for you, so at that point it's not a big deal, but when you see other phones getting 12, especially on the Android settings, it seems a bit of a disappointment. In terms of storage, you're looking at 128 and 256 gigs of storage. Again, that's exactly the same from last year. Main camera, 12 megapixel, inner camera, 10 megapixel, Android 12, One UI 4, 3700 milliamp battery, 25 watt wired and 10 watt wireless. So this is kind of going with the same thing as a Z Fold 4. The specs are kind of just like this, they're just level. They're not increasing, they're not really decreasing either, they're just kind of staying level, and they're not that exciting from the previous generation. And specifically with this phone, I don't even really know if there's a reason to upgrade if you have the Z Fold 3, unless you really wanted the slightly bigger outside display. But beyond that, and maybe a little bit more battery life, beyond that, I don't know if there's really a reason to upgrade. At least a $1,000 reason to upgrade. Even if you get trade-in, you're still gonna have to pay some money towards it. Even if it's a $300 or $400 you have to pay towards it, is it worth paying that just to get slightly better battery life and a slightly bigger outside display and a slightly faster, more efficient processor? I don't know. I personally wouldn't say it is, but that remains to be seen. Let me know what you guys think. And just to go along with that story, here's some pictures of a case for the Z Flip 4 of what it's going to look like. You can see that it's gonna have the protective case. The hinge part has also been changed and become very narrow. So, you know, that would be the other part of this that'd be kind of nice for an upgrade. Next two stories about the Galaxy Z Fold 4, comparing it to the Z Fold 3. First of all, let's talk about the under display camera on there. And you know, in certain situations you can see it. And then in other situations, like when I'm looking at it right now, I can't really see it from this distance. When I pull it in close, I can see like the pixelization of where the camera is. Well, here's some kind of good news. Galaxy Z Fold 3 under display camera has 172 pixels. The Z Fold 4 has more pixels, meaning they're gonna be more fine, meaning they're gonna be harder to see. It's gonna basically double the pixels, a little bit more than double the pixels that the Z Fold 3 has for that under display camera, but Ice Universe is saying you can still see the particles. So they're not completely gone, but I would bet that maybe instead of, depending upon how good your eyesight is too, you know, if you have it here, you still might not be able to see it, but if you pull in at that point, you can. So there's some good things coming for it. And I don't know if that's a reason to upgrade the phone, but it's kind of cool that it's gonna have, you know, more pixels in where the camera part is. And then lastly, here you go with this one. It says, don't believe the claims that the Z Fold 4 and Fold 3 are very similar. The Fold 4 design has changed a lot, especially the hinge, and he shows it off with the screens off this time. Before yesterday we saw it with the screens on, and I think this gives you a bit of an indication of, you know, you do have less hinge, you do get a slightly wider display, a slightly shorter display as well in this photo. Our first story of the day has to do with the weight of, oh, I almost grabbed the wrong phone, the Galaxy Z Fold 4, because it's going to be lighter than the Z Fold 3. In fact, the Z Fold 4 is going to be the lightest folding phone, I don't know if ever, but definitely of any of them that come out in 2022. Now, this information is coming from Ice Universe saying that the Z Fold 4 will be the lightest fold phone this year at only 254 grams. He does say that there's rumors that 258 and 260 were the weight sizes, but he said, nope, it's gonna be 254. Now, just for context, the Z Fold 3 weighs 271 grams. And I don't know anything about grams, so I had to convert that into ounces. Both phones at 271, the Z Fold 4 at 254 are still about 9 ounces, just obviously within that 9 ounce range. So you'll notice some difference, but not like an astronomical amount of weight. The other part of this is that an iPhone, I believe, unless I'm mistaken, weighs 250 grams. So, or 240 grams actually. So an iPhone 13 Pro Max, very kind of heavy too, but at the same time, when you think about this phone being, you know, huge display and bigger overall in a space area, then the iPhone 13 Pro Max is pretty impressive how light they're getting these phones in just a matter of a few years. Now, to add on to all this information, Anthony Galax put out a little tweet. Now, we will disregard his 258 grams because that's not correct, obviously, as we've seen earlier from Ice Universe, but he's saying that the Z Flip 4 and Fold 4 will also come in Tom Brown special editions like previous models. I don't know if that's a huge surprise, and also, who even buys the Tom Brown edition? It's kind of cool, but I don't even know who Tom Brown is. It's been 4 years. Z Fold 4, no 16 gigabyte RAM model. We've heard it's only going to be up to 12 gigabytes. Same S Pen, I wasn't laughing, I was coughing. Same S Pen as the Z Fold 3. So that's not really a huge surprise either, but both have less noticeable creases thanks to the stronger display. However, it is still noticeable, aka the crease is still noticeable. So a little bit of, you know, rehashed information there on the Z Fold 4, but still stuff that you might not have known. I didn't know about the Tom Brown edition. Well, at least you kind of expected it would probably happen anyway, but still we didn't fully know, and maybe hopefully he's right on that. But we'll definitely keep our eyes peeled as more Z Fold 4 information comes out. With our first story of the day being all about the Galaxy S22 series of phone and a ginormous update coming out, at least seemingly rolling out, because Ice Universe is putting out this tweet saying that Samsung has pushed the latest firmware, AVEH, for the S22 series 1.7 gigabytes. And we don't really, I don't know if people even have this update yet for June. I haven't gotten it yet. You can check where you live and see if you've gotten it, and see how big it is, but looking like it's gonna be 1.7 gigs, which is humongous. So obviously bug fixes, security fixes, and then you would think they're gonna add some kind of feature as well. That's a lot of man in that update. So we'll see, but right now it's absolutely huge. Next up is about the Flip 4. With the Fold 4 though, we know that the crease is gonna be much reduced. What about the Flip 4? That also is ringing true. Per Ice Universe, the crease of the Flip 4 is much shallower than that of the Flip 3, and I think most people will be satisfied. So if you're looking to get the Flip 4, that crease where you bend it is gonna be a lot less noticeable. You'll probably still be able to see it, but it's gonna, again, be a lot less. The Galaxy Watch 5 and 5 Pro are due to come out this August, and there's a feature that's potentially maybe going to make its way over to that watch. We've heard that being able to capture your body temperature on your Samsung Watch was gonna get pushed to possibly 2023. We heard it was gonna come 2022, and then we heard 2023. But it looks like the Watch 5 or the Watch 5 Pro or both, one of them, if it's gonna be one, it's gonna be the Watch 5 Pro. If it's both, then okay, great. But it looks like it still might come out, and we know this because of this. Someone on Reddit posted a Samsung Health beta software update showing, and you can see it right there, it says skin temperature during sleep, used to forecast your cycle more accurately. So you'll be able to check your body temperature basically. And I don't know if you'll be able to always check it, or if it's gonna be like a reduced version of checking your temperature that it needs a long time in order to check it. Like, it's not what we're just thinking like, oh, it's on my wrist, I can check it anytime I want. That's the only thing that kind of doesn't weird me out about it, but kind of gets me going about it. Skin temperature during sleep. Why does it have to be only during sleep unless it's always there? But that's very, very interesting. So we might be getting temperature tracking on our Galaxy Watch 5/Watch 5 Pro. First story of the day has to do with the new iPhone that's coming out, iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, and the look of it. Like, because as you know, it has a new design, and this is what it's going to look like. We've seen this before, but Ice Universe just posted this showing off the camera design on the front of the display, and every time I see it, I like it, and it grows on me, and I think it's gonna be a big, beautiful change for what they have now, where that just like square cutout. at the top of the phone that's been aging so badly, especially when you have phones like, you know, even though the camera sucks underneath it, you have the Galaxy Z Fold 3 and you can't even see the camera, and then you have other phones where the camera cutout is really, really small. Let me see, I don't even think it's gonna show because it's so dark, but you have the camera up there. So, I mean, there's things that like they have done now with this iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. So very excited about this new design. I wanna know what you guys think about it. Do you think this is a nice change, or is it still a turn off for you? A lot of people ask me about the Galaxy Z Fold line and it having a premium or a pro version of the phone. And in the past, we've also talked about this folding line having a cheaper version. There's even been rumors of it having like a Galaxy Z Fold Lite of some sort, but when are we gonna see something like a budget version of a folding phone from Samsung? Well, it looks like the guy known as Chun is saying that the foldable Galaxy A is not happening anytime soon, probably 24 to 25. So in a couple of years here, at least that's when Samsung is aiming to release. So we're at 2022 now. So we're looking at 2 to 3 years before you would actually see a budget Galaxy Z Fold phone. Now at this point in time, I would still love to see a pro version of it, but the more I think about it, the more I am saying to myself, I'm like, they're selling, the sales for the folding line is going up, but not to the point where it even comes close to anything to do with traditional candy bar phones that Samsung has. So to me, it makes more sense for them to probably come out with a budget version of the phone, you know, under $1,000 or around $1,000, where you can get this phone and you're like, you know what, it has most of the features, but you know, it's much cheaper. So I think that's when this line will probably take off even more. But yeah, a couple more years, it seems like, before we get a budget version of the Fold line. And our last story, all about the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and Flip 4, the software. We got some great news going on. It looks like they being Samsung, is developing the firmware development for the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and Flip 4. What does that all mean? It means they're creating the actual software that will run on those two devices that are unreleased, that should come out in August. So great news. They're already working on the hardware, at least pushing that stuff out and creating it, mass producing it. And now the software, they're probably already developing it, but now they're like basically ready to work more on it and really finalize the development of that firmware, because we're already in May. You need to get it out in the next few months. Very exciting times if you're a Fold 4 Flip 4 fan. All right, first question of the day comes from Dennis Doroslovic. Says, trade in towards the Z Fold 4. What phone do you believe will fetch a greater trade-in value, Z Fold 3 or the S22 Ultra? Usually it's the phone, the predecessing phone, whatever the same phone is, will get the highest value. Meaning, if you're trading in an S22 for an S23, the S22 would be the highest, well, the S22 Ultra would be the highest phone. If you're doing a Z Fold 4 and you're trading the new Z Fold 3, that would get the highest value. S22 Ultra will probably come pretty close. It might even tie it, but definitely Z Fold 3 will definitely be the highest trade-in value. I'd be shocked if it's not. And by highest, I'm talking probably about $100 more than the S22 Ultra. Timothy Hammock says, question, if my mom and brother are considering the Z Fold 4, which device would you recommend, the S22 Ultra or the Z Fold 4 or the Pixel 7 Pro? Which device would you recommend from those three devices? Because my birthday is in August, so which would you recommend? So Timothy's asking if my mom and brother are considering. I always say the Z Fold 4. It's just such a different device. If you've never had one, I think you'll love it, especially the newer things coming to the phone. I think it's worth it over any of the other folding phones. But if you're not into folding phones, or you're worried about it and you don't even want to deal with it just because of things that have happened in the past to other things with it in terms of reliability, but reliability is supposed to be improved this year, then I would say get the, I don't know, the Pixel 7 Pro is not out yet, obviously, and it doesn't come out till October. Neither is the Z Fold 4, you could say, but Pixel 7 Pro is pretty cool, but I'm worried about the dim screen. And then it's probably not gonna be as powerful, but it'll still run really, really well, and maybe even be snappier than the S22 Ultra. And I'll probably like the still camera better again on the Pixel 7 Pro. But I think the best overall phone out of those, the safest one, is definitely the S22 Ultra. With the Pixel 7 Pro, I think you'll get the best still camera and updates. Actually, that and the Galaxy S22 Ultra are going to get timely updates, but updates, obviously OS updates will come in really quick, the big ones. And then for the Galaxy Z Fold 4, I find that to be the most exciting. Phil PJ Davis says, question: transferring data, PIX files to the Tab X Ultra from a 750 Microsoft Windows laptop, would it be best just to transfer to a 1 terabyte SD card in the Tab rather than try and guess, pick and choose? What will it fit to the internal storage? Also, with all the Windows folders transfer onto a SD card. So you can just transfer the files within the folders, but yeah, if you put the folders into that SD card, they're gonna transfer over. Another thing you do is download Send Anywhere for both devices and send it that way. But I think you can do fast transfer or whatever it's called on is that a laptop, did you say, or a drive? I just do the SD card. That's gonna be the easiest thing. And Nick Marshall's last question, is there a wireless car charger to hold the Fold in the open tablet form? So yeah, I did a video on it. It's Samsung's wireless car charger. I'll link the video and a link to buy it. So check out the video, and if you wanna buy it, you can click on that as well. Check it out, it's a great one. I use it all the time in one of our cars. Thanks for watching. If you have a question, leave it in the comments down below with the word question, and we'll see you down the road. Peace.